I'm standing just off Great Missenden High Street in Buckinghamshire, outside the Roald Dahl Museum and Story Centre. I stayed last night in Roald Dahl's former local pub just down the road, which was adorned with Quentin Blake prints all over the wall, and I cannot tell you how excited I am to be here. I'm joined by Amelia Foster. She's the director of the Museum and Story Centre. Amelia, tell us a bit about the place before we go in.
Well, we opened in June 2005. The idea for it, though, really started soon after Roald died. Lissy, his widow, wanted to create a home for his archive, somewhere where it could be kept together and where it could carry on the work really that he started. He believed that if a child fell in love with a book, then that love affair would last them their whole life. He was really passionate about getting kids to read, and so that's really the inspiration behind this. It's kind of keeping the archive together, making it accessible for people, and just getting people to unlock their imaginations, get involved in reading and writing and being creative in lots of different kinds of ways.
Let's take a look inside.
Well, we're standing in the crocodile corridor, which is really the entrance to the museum, and what we can see are our chocolate doors, which actually smell of chocolate, which is very exciting, and all the kids say, how do you get them to smell? But that's our secret. We don't tell people. Really, we have two biographical galleries here, and they are based on Roald Dahl's memoirs. We call them memoirs because, as Gore Vidal said, a memoir is how you remember your own life. And Roald Dahl was nothing if not a storyteller. So we're going to go into Boy now, which is the first of our galleries. And this is the most traditional of our galleries. We have a large archive case here, which allows us to show the letters to Mama. He wrote to his mother every week throughout her life. And she kept all his letters, which is wonderful because, of course, we have a complete record of their relationship by letter. And we have things like his school reports as well, so children are able to see that he wasn't a brilliant writer when he was at school. In fact, he was labelled a persistent muddler, which always makes me think of the BFG. And I think one of his teachers did say has possibilities. I don't think they could have known quite what possibilities he had.
So let's have a look at these. What's in this case here then?
Well, because it's the 50th anniversary of James and the Giant Peach this year, we've focused all of our archive material in the cases on James and the Giant Peach because we thought it would be good to celebrate it. He had a very meticulous writing method, which involved writing longhand with yellow legal paper with Dixon Ticonderoga pencils, and he would write that up, and then he would pass it to his secretary to be typed up, and then he would literally, physically, as you can see, cut and paste bits of handwritten and typewritten material together. Now, if you're an archivist or a conservator, sellotape is an absolute nightmare because, of course, it doesn't last. And as you can see, we've just got the stains of sellotape there. And if we move up here a little bit, we can actually see Roald Dahl kept a story ideas book with him all his life because he said that a good idea was like a dream. If you didn't write it down, you'd know you'd had one, but you wouldn't remember what it was. So he always kept a story ideas book with him. And very conveniently, when he'd used a story idea, he would tick it off and quite often write by it what it was that he'd actually used it in. If you look at the bottom of this page here, you can see it says, "The cherry that wouldn't stop growing." That is the idea that became James the Giant Peach. And often it's just one line that then grew into this amazing story, or quite literally grew in the case of James and the Giant Peach. So now we're standing in Solo. So in here, we look at how Roald Dahl became a writer, the journey, and it was really very much flying that led him to be a writer in the first place. He crashed his plane, so he was actually sent to America to be an air attaché to try and help bring America into the war, and he was asked by C.S. Forester to write a piece for the Saturday Evening Post, and that was published pretty much unedited. And this was the first time when he thought, actually, do you know what, I could be a writer. And so that's what started him writing adult short stories. We also have his flying helmet, which is kind of, a wonderful thing to be able to see. And we have a lovely piece with one of his daughters, Ophelia, talking about the fear and, the knowledge of having killed people while he was wearing it and the effect that had on him.
So that's Roald Dahl's actual flying helmet?
That is Roald Dahl's actual flying helmet. And we also have the BFG sandal. Now, when Quentin Blake and Roald Dahl were working on the BFG, they had a long discussion about what the BFG should wear, and one of the questions was footwear. And one day, Quentin Blake got a parcel in the post, and in the parcel was one of Roald Dahl's Norwegian sandals. And if you look at the front cover of the BFG, you can see that he is indeed wearing Roald Dahl's Norwegian sandals.
Over in the middle of the room here, we've got this giant globe almost. What's this?
This is the BFG's dream bottle, and you can do shadow puppets and actually see your dream bottled. what our visitors don't know is that this is actually a cesspit, not a used one, I hasten to add, but that's what it's built out of. Because when they were looking for something that looked like a dream bottle, it was the perfect size and shape. So that's what it is. But no, it's a puppet theatre, a shadow puppet theatre. So you can actually bottle your dreams and then see them.
So Amelia, this is a very busy looking room here. What's this?
Well, this is the story centre, and to me this is the creative heart of the museum. This is where we put the visitor and their imagination centre stage. So here we use techniques from Roald Dahl's own writing armoury, if you like, and encourage children and adults to write creatively, to create characters, to manipulate language, to manipulate plot. So, for example, you can make up a gobblefunk word, which is the BFG's word. You can actually see the BFG's dictionary here, so you can see how he spent ages trying to work out the words that the BFG would use.
So these were the words that Roald Dahl made up for the BFG?
That's right. Here we have Roald Dahl's replica writing hut. You have an opportunity to sit in his chair and to experience what it would have been like. It's a very small, very dark place, and he just really wanted to shut himself away. He spent 2 hours here every morning, 2 hours every afternoon, and he actually used to tell his children that there were wolves in the hut so that they wouldn't disturb him, because although he loved to be available for his children when he was writing, he really needed to be in solitude, and quite often he would pull the curtains and keep himself really isolated. He called it his little nest, his womb. One of Roald Dahl's qualities, I think, as a writer was that he was not childish, but childlike. He retained the knowledge of what it was like to be a child. And to me, the hut is a reflection of that. He kept mementos around him, much as a child would. So he had a little model of a hurricane, he had a little model of a grasshopper. So it's that kind of lovely, having things around you that mean something. They may not have any value, but they mean something really personal to you. And for me, that's what's incredibly moving about the hut.
And I have to ask you, what's your favourite book?
My favourite book is the BFG. And I didn't know when I joined the museum that was actually Roald Dahl's favourite book of his as well, so I don't know if that helped me get the job. But it is the question that we do ask everyone when we're interviewing people, we do ask, what's your favourite book? And as I say, he liked the BFG the most. He felt it was his most complete book.